The Fallen. The woman that was on the thumbnail in front of this video is one of the fallen. Why did I say she is of the fallen? She traded in her birthright. She, a heritage that was around over 3 billion, self-created being, over 3 billion years. She created that to become intimate with that which was formed 8,000 years ago. She gave up her birthright for that which does not enrich her but make her poor indeed. She's blind, deaf, and dumb to the knowledge of herself. And she deserved the punishment that came upon her, that misled her. There's signs in the heavens, signs is given to her, telling her the right way, the natural way. But she instead wanted to take the unnatural path and give birth to a monster. From a monster. From a chimera. 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 Physical eyes is open, but her spiritual eyes is shut. Signs are all around, but she chooses to ignore the signs. She must have an intuition of feeling that what she's doing is unnatural. But she ignored that. She ignored that because there's a feeling when you're doing wrong and when you're doing the correct thing. When you're going against the law of nature and when you're working with nature. That's why I think and she has natural hair. Her hair is natural because that's probably what the Caucasian man wants. He wants something that's natural. And she chooses something unnatural. So she wearing a natural hair because it's attractive to him. That which attracted him. So common sense will tell you if it's attractive to him, why are you going for something that's unnatural? That's why it's kind of odd when people call their hair, the way it's grown out their hair, they call that natural. But yet they choose to wear and style it in a way that's unnatural. Oh my goodness. And just like it's people bleaching their skin, putting themselves in the tub of lye that was burn the skin. Under the sun, disfigure them. With all the signs showing them the danger, even if the doctors don't say it, and they say it's dangerous. But that's whatever they put on their skin. To burn off the melanin, they're precious. More precious than gold. What drives and most of the people doing this is people like in the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, or in Africa, especially Nigeria. Like a curse come over them. That's why when I go out, I fight against the spirits that want to enter me. It gets into them, and then it want to enter me, and I fight against it. And I'm victorious. I will forever be victorious, no matter what you say. My spirit is my spirit, and it's the Holy Spirit. and I stay calm and peaceful and still become victorious. You can win with peace just by knowing the truth. Then there's people who say, what benefit do a black person have? How could that help us by not marrying interracially or not by being miscegenationists? They say, how can that help us? It helps. That's the first step. The basics of you is your power of procreation and who you procreate with, and knowing that you was self-created billions of years ago. The knowledge of yourself. Losing your birthright. Like they said, Esau, who represents the son, lose his birthright to Jacob, represented the moon. In that story. Huh? That's the story. That's witchcraft in the Bible. Witchcraft, telling you the story of witchcraft and how they perform that witchcraft. So the story, most of the story is against black people, against our very nature. So the story is a plant more than it is a prophecy. It's more of a plant than a prophecy, what they plan to happen. And somehow the witchcraft that they made to bring it about. As I said, King James, the very King James, we had the Bible written in his version, Masonic version, and since he was a Mason, a Freemason, he was the king in 1619 when indentured servants, they were indentured servants that first came over. Black indentured servants. In 1619, it came from, and many also came from Jamestown in Ghana to Jamestown, Virginia, or near Jamestown, Virginia. And the King James, who wrote the Bible, made in his version, was the king at that time during 1619. So it is a Masonic agenda when they decided to create a spiritual Egypt in the West. That's what so-called United States became, a spiritual Egypt from those Masonic people in England and Scotland. And later in France, because in France they call it Occidental Society. It's the same as the Freemasons, similar. And they control the French-speaking African countries. And the president of Gabon is the highest black Freemason, but they're not called Occidental. It's the same society, but this is a French version, and he's the highest in Africa. And from Ghana, the ex-president, one of the ex-presidents, is the highest Freemason in Africa. Highest ranking Freemason in Africa. That's on the British side. So this return, year of return, all of that is the agenda. Even President Trump signed a bill about a year of return. And there's like I said, black people are in on it. They don't have the full knowledge, but they have more knowledge than the average black person. But they wicked, they are in on the agenda. But going back to the fallen, there's a movie, they even show you in the movies what was going on, like a movie called The Fallen, about a Simba. And they have some type of, she has some type of magic where she has sex with a normal, so-called normal man. It wasn't a white man, it was about white people. And then probably many other movies where they show you about what's going on spiritually. And even Michael Jackson, from somehow knew what was going on. That's why he had having a tour before he was killed. The name of the tour is This Is It. Now, Michael Jackson was, I think it was a 7-day Adventist. Very strict 7-day Adventist. He used to go around to different people's house, even when he was a star. But somehow he came to the knowledge. And he said, this is it. And this is it. This is the end of the Caucasian rule. And he had a video, one of the biggest videos in his career, called The Thriller. And one time I just said, why is that so popular? And it was scary and spooky. But that is what's going on now, The Thriller. Even black people had become monsters. Like the vampire, when they bite a person, that person becomes a vampire itself. And a lot of us is bitten by the snake, spiritually. That's why it's no accident you see guys shooting up a place, innocent people, shooting children, babies even. They've lost their mind. They have the mind of the snake. Subhuman beings. Black, yes. And we have to purify ourselves of that. And one day you see people talking about divestment, and the leader of that is bitten by the snake, a spiritual being. Mind is poison. It's actually poison, really poison. Talking about divestment. Divest themselves from themselves. Saving themselves from themselves. They black and they want to divest from blackness. So they divest from themselves. Selling their soul for what? That's crazy. And the term they use explain their thinking. How could it be black divesting themselves from black? It's trying to save black. It's a round robin, real stupidity. And one of the dangers when you get the people from that miscegenation intimacy relationship with the cinema, they become 7 times the devil of the original devil. 7 times worse. So those people somehow, even if there's very few of us that could be saved, out of 45 to 50 million, if we could get just 1 million whose eyes are open. But you said, well, if we become in one area, then we become a target. Don't worry about that. We have to separate and be free. And we can stay around that which infect us. Not just with COVID, but infect our minds, infect our spirit. We have to be clean. I'm on a fight all the day, not only from Caucasian people. I expect that from them. That dog-like spirit, I expect that. They have the power of the dog. Their spiritual power is for Satan. And land beasts. I expect that. And I fight against that. But there's those that look like us. They don't want me to say this. They don't want us to say it. But they're hiding behind melanin. They're hiding behind melanin. And you can say that a lot of us have a large amount of Caucasian in us that overwhelm our real self. Sometimes it's 25%, 15%. And we have to overcome that. And those Caucasians now, they want to be grafted back into the original people. Now, I used to think, I used to say, feel sorry for the made people, because they didn't make themselves. We made them. Did they make themselves? Who made them? That's the question. We did. So we were responsible for their being. And not all of us, but we allowed it to happen. Provoke the Most High itself. And they say there's a climate change. Yes, there's a climate change. The climate is changing from the climate of so-called white superiority to black empowerment. That's the change of climate. And there's going to have to be another separation with our own people. Sometimes you say, well, let them grow together. The weed grow with the wheat. And at the end of days, there will be a separation of the weed, of the tariff from the wheat. That was garbage. That was was a normal, natural plant. Desire plant is the wheat. But sometimes the tariff sometimes grow along with it. And this is the time to remove the tariff or the tears, I should say, the tears. Move the tears from the wheat. Move the weed and the tears. This is the time of the separation. There was tears planted within us, by us. Sometimes by rape, but sometimes willful volition now. And they are being deceived by what they consider wealth. The eyes have been deceived, what they consider wealth, and they connect that with the beings, the land beasts, and desire that wood and stone, their body, their soul. But this is the truth. You hear it or not. But it's going to come to pass anyway, whether you hear it or not.